Hello, everybody. Happy Wisdom Wednesday. This is Racquel Palmisi. Very, very good to be with you all today. Hi. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Lauren. Very good to see you. Hello. Thank you. I did just get my hair cut. Yes. Thanks, Danielle. It felt really good to have a little me time today and get a haircut. I haven't had one since before COVID, so I can't even imagine what was going on with my hair. I stopped looking at it. So, hi Priya. Welcome here to Wisdom Wednesday. It's always such an experience to come online on social media with you who come on now and those of you who will come on later and send me your comments and thoughts. It's really an interesting thing to know that I can reach people all over the world like this and just offer some wisdom and some transmissions that are coming through me from Spirit for us all to know, participate in. And as we gather together like this, always we create an energy field together. So as we're getting started, please allow yourself to do some breathing. Come all the way into your bodies. Use your breath. Hi, Johanna. Feel the breath, the light energy that is coming in as you breathe. We are all energy beings, after all, made of energy. And we feel the energy traveling through our bodies and our being. If we move, wiggle around a little bit, we'll start feeling ourselves. Sometimes when we're in our days, we get so into our heads, we forget we have these bodies sometimes, although until they ache or quake or, shake or cry or something like that, we can just exist out here in this cloud of thought, of mind. And we're really not meant to do that. We're meant to be very embodied, because when we breathe in and when we are embodied like this, this is when we begin to feel ourselves, to actually experience our life. We are here in a material world. We're meant to experience through our senses, our 5 senses, and probably 6 or 7 more that we don't quite know about yet, but we're getting there. We're meant to feel and experience our moments, each moment, even this one, fully. So when we're breathing, when we're aware of our bodies, when we're actually grounding, sending our energy down into the earth, we are present in a way that we're rarely present. We start breathing deeper. We come down from only our mind, thought forms, that cloud of bees that's sometimes up there making a lot of noise. And we become embodied and available to receive, to open, to release anything that is trying to resist this embodiment, anything that tries to send us back into our heads. So allow the mind right now to relax a little bit. Use your breath, feel it. I always like to picture my brain, sort of the 2 hemispheres of it, kind of opening and falling separate, apart, and just relaxing. And as those 2 hemispheres open, a lot of things can release out of there that are extraneous thought forms that I don't need, that keep repeating over and over again. Just kind of blowing out like a flock of birds or something. And as these 2 hemispheres of my brain really relax, they can begin to feel some light energy coming in, helping clear, helping realign my brain, helping my mind relax and open and become available. So feel that for this moment. It's a beautiful thing to do in the middle of our days. It really is. Getting ready to receive some intelligence, some wisdom from Spirit. I become a vessel. I'm not a channel. I don't really feel that way, but I do feel like a vessel. I feel like as I embody my spirit self, as I open to the higher intelligence that can flow through me, because I'm open to it. It works off my native human intelligence, and it flows through and finds its expression through me. Sometimes it's a little awkward. Sometimes it doesn't quite come to me in English, and so it translates itself, and I become a vessel. I am so honored and happy to have that role with spirit beings to be able to share through me. So I would say it's not channeling. And I would say that as each of you open more and more to a serious spiritual path of clearing and healing and coming into your own highest truth, your own highest expression of your lives, that being a vessel is second nature. It's who we are. The only thing that stops it is all the mind chatter, the anxiety and the doubt that comes in. But if we let that all go, we're clear. We can receive. We can connect with so much of the intelligence that is there and available and waiting for those of us who are open enough to be able to deliver these new thoughts, technologies, spiritual technologies. Beautiful. It's awesome. It's available. It's there for those who are willing to clear enough to receive it and be able to transmit it, be able to share it. So I can share it in public like this. I can share it through my writing, through my teaching, through my working with others. I can just become that vessel and have a glow from inside me that inspires other people and lets them know that all of this is available to them as well. So what wants to come through for us today? I alluded to it in my invitation today to this Wisdom Wednesday, if you've seen it. What's coming in for us today is something that has been in my own personal process for a couple of weeks now. And that is how to know when something is over, and then how to actually detach and move on. I think this is something that befuddles all of us at various levels, from the time we're very small children. One morning we wake up and we kind of don't like our best friend that much anymore. We look at them and they don't look like the same person to us, or some kind of thing has changed, and we will try with our 9-year-old selves or however old we are to go back and make that come back to that place where you just couldn't wait to see that person, and you try and try and try, and maybe that other person is trying also, starting to feel really bad, but it's not working. It's like the energy has gone out of that relationship. Sometimes we think, well, she said something mean to me yesterday, and we're children, and we blame it on that. But often that relationship was just meant to end. That for whatever reason, we were meant to move on from it. And as painful as that is, and how heart-wrenching that can be for young children, I think we've all experienced something like that. Going from very young through teenagerhood, and there's all kinds of reasons. But basically, relationships with people, with work, the intimate relationships, friendships, work relationships, our work in the world itself can shift, and suddenly there's no energy in there. Oftentimes, a relationship with another person can be fraught with problems, and we just give up on it. So we'll end it. Whether that's the right thing or not, it takes a lot of work to discover, a lot of personal growth work to see if it's supposed to be healed, if that relationship is supposed to be healed, or maybe if that relationship is meant to evolve, to change. A really good example of that are people that are married, and they get to a point where they're just fighting all the time. There's no way out. It goes on for years. They just decide to separate. And bang, another year later, they're best friends. They love each other. And often they know they're not meant to live together. But the relationship itself has shifted to a more appropriate way of being. And if the two people, like, they bless it and they allow what is appropriate between them instead of just throwing each other away, then they reach a new level of what really works for them. But sometimes the energy just goes out, and that can be a really rude awakening. It can be a very sad thing because there's no reason for it. We have to pay attention to that because we can spend, sorry for that, we can spend years, sometimes a lifetime, sometimes trying to hold on to a relationship that doesn't work for us anymore, that we need to say goodbye to. This is going to be very, very difficult. I've had clients that have had problems with people at work. These intractable situations, and yet they feel inextricably entwined with each other, that it feels impossible for that to end, or the whole business is going to falter. Or it's just too hard to think about dismantling some of these work relationships or some of these personal relationships. It feels impossible, and it goes on and on and on until everybody's kind of getting physically ill over the whole thing. And that happens. The stress is going to eat us up. So there comes a time when we're actually meant to detach. Whatever the reason is, we've examined all the outcomes. We've done the therapy and the physical growth work. We've done the spiritual work. And finally we get to a place where we understand that we actually need to detach. Because the longer we stay attached, the more damage can be done. In all good intentions sometimes, we're actually doing more damage than good by staying in a relationship that's meant to end. If you think about it, you probably have all experienced, I know I have, staying in a relationship for way too long until everybody's like strangled in it. Until people just hate each other, blaming each other. Until maybe sometimes out of the goodness of our hearts, we're trying to help the other person or whatever, and all we're doing is hurting them more. Because we can't face the responsibility that we're done, that we're just done. You can feel, if you think about situations like this in your own life, how damaging it's been, how you can end up like a wreck. You can end up with nothing, feeling like nothing's left inside you. You're bereft and empty and feeling like a failure. Knowing that people are hurt, including yourself. At that point, we need to look at what it takes to actually detach. And this is not easy. And it can really take a while because we can't bypass the different levels of process that we might have to go through. Sometimes it's easy. We're just so sick of it. We're glad we just pull the plug and say, hasta luego, you know. But more often than not, it's a real process of letting go, especially if we've held on to a relationship for a long time, where we've been with that person through ups and downs and ins and outs and back again and then out again and back and out. And then detaching from that sometimes means going through an actual process of grief, of grieving. And all the stages of grief might suddenly appear before us. We're sad, we're angry, we feel betrayed, misunderstood. We feel like lashing out. We want to have the last word. We want to prove that we were right or that we cared. Maybe the other person doesn't feel that any of that's true. They are going through their own stages of whatever. So I believe the first thing we have to do is allow ourselves to go through these stages of grieving, whatever that might mean. We're letting go of something that has been a part of our life, a big part or small part. I've had people that are so sick of their careers, they can barely muster getting up in the morning. And yet they make good money and they feel responsible for the people, the families they might be supporting or part of the team. And mostly there's a security there. Looking at giving up that security, especially if people have a family to support, can seem impossible. It can seem overwhelming and just better not to even tease ourselves with thinking about it. And yet the energy went out of that job a long time ago. And there are dreams waiting in the wings to be actualized or thought about. How to muster the strength to start detaching from what no longer serves our highest needs. and actually open a new chapter of our lives. We have to say goodbye. We have to go through that meditative process of admitting it's time to move on. Whatever grief or emotion comes up around it, those emotions can keep us trapped in a dance with whatever it is we're afraid to leave behind us, whoever, whatever. Sometimes children need to detach from their parents. Other times parents need to detach from their children. These relationships are tough to let go of. There's many issues. Can be a lot of fear. And yet it's so necessary. Because if we go through life holding on to things like security blankets, we're going to live a life of fear. We're going to live a life of staying attached to that which no longer serves us and probably hasn't for a while. So if you're with me here, if you're listening, search your heart. What is it that you might be ready to move on from? What is it you need to say goodbye to? What is it that you're doing more damage by staying involved with than you would by letting it go? And just bring it into your consciousness. Be safe. Take a square look at it. Give up the excuses and rationalizations that you have about staying involved in it. Because there's lots. The mind will make up a million excuses of why you can't leave, whatever it is. And yet your heart knows. Your heart knows that everything around this person, situation, whatever it is you're thinking of, it needs to change. You don't know how it's going to look. You don't know what it's going to look like. At the end of the day, the only thing you know is that you need to step out. You need to let go. And a big part of that is letting go of the emotional need to stay in it. Often we'll just keep fighting with the other person for years because we're trying to prove how good we are or how we're right. And the other person never sees it. They're busy doing the same thing on their end, and it just gets locked into an ongoing mouse wheel. You're both running as fast as you can, serving no purpose at all except to stay stuck. So the first stage is admitting that something needs to change. And quite possibly that change will require a complete detachment, a letting go and a moving on. First stage is admitting that. The second stage is informing your being that I guess I'm gonna have to go. I guess I'm gonna have to make this change and make it now. And in that second stage, we get to a third stage, which is opening our hearts and not making what we need to detach from an enemy, not making it wrong, letting go of trying to make myself right and the other person wrong, or proving anything. Rather, doing the work of blessing the experience, blessing the person, blessing the work, whatever it is we're detaching from, blessing the whole experience of it, even if we feel we screwed it up royally, even if we feel it was a mess. That is not how God sees it at all. We can't ever detach from something that we're in a fight with. We'll never do it. We'll just keep chewing on it. We may not be there physically, but we'll keep the vitriol, anger, hatred going, and the bad feelings, and the guilt, and the strangling shame. We'll hold on to that. If we don't recognize that being in that was actually part of our journey. And after we can get to a point of blessing that relationship, no matter what it was with, who, what, the next stage of that is taking the lessons that it tried to teach us. What have we learned from this experience? And we get our journals out and we write a love letter to that experience. And we write down all that we are trying to learn or have learned. And maybe we make a little prayer to receive the learning so that we come out of that as we detach more evolved, more able to keep our hearts open, and more able to allow possibly that relationship, job, whatever it is, to come to a new place. The stages after that are uniquely between you and your Creator, and may you reap the benefits of the deep work. And may you do the deep work always, so we can all evolve together into a new paradigm. Bless you all, and thank you. See you next Wednesday.